People do want to know how to solve their money problems.
人们确实想知道如何解决他们的金钱问题。
And everyone vaguely knows that they want to be wealthy.
每个人都隐约知道他们想要变得富有，
But they don't have a good set of principles to do it by.
但他们没有一套好的原则来做这件事。
What's the difference between wealth, money, and status?
财富、金钱和地位之间有什么区别？
Wealth is the thing that you really want.
财富是你真正想要的东西。
Wealth is assets that earn while you sleep.
财富是你睡觉时仍能赚钱的资产。
Wealth is the factory, the robot that's cranking out things.
财富是工厂机器人正在生产东西。
Wealth is the computer program that's running at night that's serving other customers.
财富是夜间运行并为其他顾客服务的电脑程式。
Wealth is even money in the bank that is being reinvested into other assets and into other businesses.
甚至是银行里的钱，这些钱被再投资到其他资产和其他企业中。
Even a house can be a form of wealth because you can rent it out.
即使是一栋房子，也可以是一种财富，因为你可以把它租出去。
Although that's probably a lower use of productivity on land
虽然那可能是较低的土地生产力利用，
than actually doing some commercial enterprise.
相较于实际从事一些商业企业。
So my definition of wealth is much more businesses and assets that can earn while you sleep.
所以我对财富的定义是拥有更多能在你睡觉时赚钱的企业和资产。
But really the reason you want wealth is because it buys you freedom.
但事实上，你想要财富的原因是因为它能为你带来自由。
So you don't have to wear a tie like a collar around your neck.
所以你不必像戴项圈一样戴领带。
So you don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. and rush to work and sit in commute traffic.
所以你不必在早上7点起床赶着去上班，然后坐在通勤的交通中。
So you don't have to waste away your entire life grinding all the productive hours.
所以你不必浪费你的一生在所有的生产性时间上，
Into a way to a soulless job that doesn't fulfill you.
变成一份没有灵魂且无法满足你的工作。
So the purpose of wealth is freedom.
所以财富的目的是自由，
It's nothing more than that.
这不过就是那样而已。
It's not to buy fur coats or drive Ferraris or sail yachts or jet around the world in your Gulfstream.
这不是为了买皮草大衣、开法拉利、驾驶游艇或乘坐湾流喷射机环游世界。
That stuff gets really boring and really stupid really fast.
那些东西很快就会变得非常无聊和非常愚蠢。
It's really just so that you are your own sovereign individual.
这真的只是为了让你成为你自己的主权个体。
You're not going to get that unless you really want it.
除非你真的很想要，否则你不会得到那个。
And the entire world wants it.
而全世界都想要它，
And the entire world is working hard at it.
而整个世界都在为此努力工作。
And to some extent it is competitive.
在某种程度上，它是有竞争力的。
It's a positive sum game, but there are competitive elements to it.
这是一个震撼博弈，但其中也有竞争的成分。
Because there's a finite amount of resources right now in society.
因为目前社会上的资源是有限的，
And to get the resources to do what you want, you have to stand out.
要获得资源来做你想做的事，你必须脱颖而出。
Money is how we transfer wealth.
金钱是我们转移财富的方式，
Money is social credits.
金钱是社会信用，
It is the ability to have credits and debits on other people's time.
这是能够在他人时间上进行借贷的能力。
If I do my job right, if I create value for society, society says.
如果我做好我的工作，如果我为社会创造价值，社会会说
Oh, thank you.
谢谢你，
We owe you something in the future for the work that you did in the past.
我们欠你一个什么东西，因为你过去所做的工作。Here's the little IOU 借条，钞票即是一种借条，这是一小张借条，
Let's call that money.
让我们称它做金钱吧。
And that money gets debased because people steal the IOUs.
而且那些钱被贬值了，因为人们偷了借据。
The government prints extra IOUs.
政府印制额外的借据，
People renege on their IOUs.
人们违背了他们的借据。
But really what money is trying to be is it's trying to be a reliable IOU from society.
但实际上，金钱试图成为的是一个来自社会的可靠欠条。
That you are owed something for something you or someone who gave you the money did in the past.
你因为你或某个给你钱的人在过去所做的事情而被欠了某些东西。
And we can transfer these IOUs around.
我们可以转让这些借据。
So really money is how we transfer wealth.
所以金钱其实是我们转移财富的方式。
There are fundamentally two huge games in life that people play.
人生中人们基本上玩两种大型游戏。
One is the money game because money is not going to solve all your problems.
其中一个是金钱游戏，因为金钱无法解决你所有的问题，
But it's going to solve all your money problems.
但它将解决你所有的金钱问题。
So I think that people know that.
所以我认为人们知道这一点，
They realize that they want to make money.
他们意识到他们想赚钱，
But at the same time, many of them deep down believe that they can't make it.
但同时他们内心深处许多人认为自己无法成功，
They don't want any wealth creation to happen.
他们不希望任何财富创造发生，
So they virtue signal by attacking the whole enterprise by saying,
所以他们透过批评整个企业来表现自己的道德优越，说道
well, making money is evil, and you shouldn't do it, blah blah blah.
赚钱是邪恶的，你不应该这样做，等等等等。
But what they're trying to do is they're actually playing the other game,
但是他们真正想做的是，他们其实在玩另一个游戏，
which is a status game.
这是一场地位游戏。
They're trying to be high status in the eyes of other people watching by saying,
他们试图通过说话，在旁观者眼中显得地位很高。
well, I don't need money.
我不需要钱，
We don't want money.
我们不想要钱。
And then status is just your ranking in the social hierarchy.
然后地位只是你在社会阶层中的排名，
So wealth is not a zero-sum game.
所以财富不是零汉游戏。
Everybody in the world can have a house because you have a house doesn't take.
世界上的每个人都可以拥有一间房子，因为你拥有一间房子并不会夺走
away from my ability to have a house.
我拥有房子的能力。
If anything, the more houses that are built, the easier it becomes to build houses.
如果有什么不同的话，那就是建造的房屋越多，建房子就变得越容易。
The more we know about building houses and just the more people that can have houses.
我们对建造房屋的了解越多，就会有越多的人能够拥有房屋。
So wealth is a very positive sum game.
所以财富是一个非常震撼的游戏。
We create.
我们创造，
We create things together. We're starting this endeavor to create this.
我们一起创造事物，我们正在开始这项努力。
Hopefully, piece of art that explains what we're doing. At the end of it, something brand.
创作一件艺术作品来解释我们正在做的事情，最后会有一些全新的东西。
New will be created. It's a positive sum game. Status, on the other hand, is a zero-sum game.
将会被创造，这是一个震撼博弈。另一方面，地位则是一个零汉博弈。
It's a very old game. We've been playing it since monkey tribes, and it's hierarchical.
这是一个非常古老的游戏，我们从猴子部落时代就开始玩了，而且它是有层级制度的。
Who's number one, who's number two, who's number three, and for number three to move.
谁是第一名，谁是第二名，谁是第三名，然后第三名移动。
To number two has to move out of that slot. So status is a zero-sum game.
要成为第二名，第二名必须从那个位置移开，所以地位是一个零汉游戏。
Is an example of a status game. Even sports is an example of a status game. To be the winner.
政治是一种地位游戏的例子，即使是运动也是地位游戏的例子，成为赢家。
There must be a loser. I don't fundamentally love status games. They play an important role.
必定会有输家，我并不从根本上喜爱地位游戏，他们是扮演着重要的角色。
In our society, so we figure out who's in charge, but fundamentally you play them because they're.
在我们的社会中，所以我们弄清楚谁负责，但从根本上说，你玩他们是因为他们是
a necessary evil. The problem is on an evolutionary basis if you go back thousands of years.
必要之恶。问题是，如果你回溯到几千年前，从进化的角度来看，
Status is a much better predictor of survival than wealth is. You couldn't have wealth before.
地位比财富更能预测生存，你以前不能拥有财富。
The farming age before farmers because you couldn't store things. Hunter-gatherers carried.
农耕时代之前是狩猎采集者的时代，因为你无法储存物品，狩猎采集者随身携带。
Everything on their backs. So hunter-gatherers lived entirely in status-based societies.
一切都背在他们的背上，因此狩猎采集者完全生活在基于地位的社会中。
Farmers started going to wealth-based societies and the modern industrial economies are.
农民开始进入以财富为基础的社会，现代工业经济也是如此。
Much more heavily wealth-based societies, but there's always a subtle competition.
更加以财富为基础的社会，但是总是有一种微妙的竞争。
Going on between status and wealth, for example when journalists attack rich people.
在地位和财富之间的关系，例如当记者攻击富人时
or attack the technology industry, they're really bidding for status. They're saying,
或攻击科技产业，他们其实是在争取地位。他们在说
no, the people are more important, and I, the journalist, represents the people.
不，人民更重要，而我作为记者代表人民。
And therefore I am more important. The problem is that by playing these status games,
因此我更重要。问题是通过玩这些地位游戏，
to win at a status game you have to put somebody else down. That's why you should avoid status.
要在地位竞赛中获胜，你必须贬低他人，这就是为什么你应该避免
games in your life because they make you into an angry combative person. You're always fighting.
追求地位游戏在你的生活中，因为他们让你变成一个愤怒好斗的人，你总是在争斗。
To put other people down, to put yourself and the people that you like up, and they're always
贬低他人来抬高自己，和你喜欢的人总是这样。
going to exist. There's no way around it, but just realize that most of the times,
会存在的，这是无法避免的，但请意识到大多数时候，
when you're trying to create wealth, you're actually getting attacked by someone else.
当你试图创造财富时，你实际上正在被其他人攻击。
And they're trying to look like a goody two-shoes, but really what they're doing
他们试图装成一副道貌岸然的样子，但实际上他们在做的事情是
is they're trying to up their own status at your expense. They're just playing a different game.
他们正在试图以你的代价提升自己的地位，他们只是在玩不同的游戏。
And it's a worse game. It's a zero-sum game instead of a positive-sum game.
而且这是一个更糟糕的游戏，这是一个零汉游戏，而不是正汉游戏。
One thing you mentioned before the interview that stuck with me was the idea that you think
您在访问前提到的一件让我印象深刻的事情是，您认为
everyone can become rich and that perhaps some of the ways of getting rich or the idea of wealth
每个人都可以变得富有，也许致富的方法或对财富的想法
is vilified by some people in other countries. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
在其他国家被一些人诽谤，你想多说一点吗？
Yeah, I think there's this notion that making money is evil, right? It's rooted all the way.
是的，我认为有一种观念认为赚钱是邪恶的，对吧？这种观念根深蒂固。
Back down to money's the root of all evil. People think that the bankers steal our money.
金钱是万恶之源，人们认为银行家偷走了我们的钱。
And it's somewhat true in that in a lot of the world there's a lot of theft going on all the
在某种程度上，这是真的，因为在世界上的很多地方，偷窃行为屡见不鲜。
time. The history of the world, in some sense, is this predator-prey relationship between makers
从某种意义上说，世界历史就是制造者之间的掠夺者与猎物的关系。
and takers. There are people who go out and create things and build things and work hard.
有些人是接受者，有些人会出去创造事物、建造事物并努力工作。
on things. And then there are people who come along and play with a sword or a gun or taxes.
在某些事情上，然后有些人会出现并玩弄剑、枪或税收。
or crony capitalism or communism or what have you. There's all these different methods to steal.
或者裙带资本主义，或者共产主义，或者其他什么，这些都是不同的偷窃方法。
Even in nature there are more parasites than there are non-parasitical organisms.
即使在自然界中，寄生生物的数量也多于非寄生生物。
You have a ton of parasites in you who are living off of you, and the better ones are
你体内有大量寄生虫依赖着你生存，而比较好的那些是
symbiotic and giving something back, but there are a lot that are just taking. That's just the
共生并回馈，但有很多只是索取，这只是
nature of how any complex system is built. But what I am focused on is true wealth creation.
任何复杂系统的构建方式，但我关注的是真正的财富创造。
It's not about taking money. It's not about taking something from somebody else.
这不是关于拿钱，这不是关于从别人那里拿走什么，
But it's from creating abundance. Obviously, there's not a finite number of jobs or a finite.
但这是从创造丰裕中来的，显然工作数量并不是有限的，财富也不是有限的。
Amount of wealth, otherwise we would still be sitting around in caves figuring out how to
否则我们还会坐在洞穴里想办法如何去
divide a piece of the firewood and the occasional dead deer, so most of the wealth and civilization.
劈开一块柴火和偶尔的死路，所以大部分的财富和文明
In fact, if not most, all of it has been created, and it got created from somewhere. It got created.
甚至是全部的东西都是被创造出来的，而且它是从某个地方被创造出来了。
From people, it got created from technology. It got created from productivity. It got created.
来自人们，它来自技术，它来自生产力，它被创造出来。
From hard work. So this idea that it's stolen is, I think, this horrible zero-sum game that
从辛勤工作中获得，所以我认为这种财富被偷走的想法是一种可怕的零汉游戏。
people who are trying to gain status play. But the reality is everyone can be rich, and we can.
试图获得地位的人在玩游戏，但现实是每个人都可以变得富有。我们可以
See that by seeing that in the first world everyone is richer than almost anyone who was.
看到在第一世界国家，每个人都比几乎任何过去200年间的人更富有。
Alive 200 years ago, 200 years ago, nobody had antibiotics. Nobody had cars. Nobody had electricity. 200.
年前没有人有抗生素，没有人有汽车，没有人有电。
Nobody had the iPhone. So all of these things are inventions that have made us wealthier as a
没有人拥有 iPhone， 所以所有这些东西都是让我们变得更富有的发明。
species. Today I would rather be a poor person in a first world country than be a rich person.
今天我宁愿在第一世界国家当一个穷人，也不愿在路易14时期的法国当一个富人。
Elizabeth France. I'd rather be a poor person today than an aristocrat back then.
我宁愿是今天的穷人，也不愿是当时的贵族。
And that's just because of wealth creation. The engine of technology is science that is applied.
这仅是因为财富创造科技的引擎是应用科学来
For the purpose of creating abundance. So I think fundamentally everybody can be wealthy.
创造丰裕，所以我认为基本上每个人都可以富有。
And the thought experiment I want you to think through is imagine if everybody had the knowledge.
我希望你思考的这个思想实验是想象，如果每个人都有这个知识会怎样
Of a good software engineer and a good hardware engineer. If you could go out there and you could.
好的软体工程师和好的硬体工程师，如果你能出去并且你能
Build robots and computers and bridges and program them. Let's say every human knew how to do that.
建造机器人、电脑和桥梁，并对它们进行编程。假设每个人都知道如何做到这些，
What do you think society would look like in 20 years? My guess is what would happen is we would
你认为20年后的社会会是什么样子？我猜测会发生的是我们会
build robots, machines, software, and hardware to do everything, and we would all be living in
建造机器人、机器、软体和硬体来完成所有事情，我们都将生活在
massive abundance. We would essentially be retired in the sense that none of us would have to work.
大量的富裕，我们基本上可以退休，因为我们当中没有人需要为了基本需求工作。
For any of the basics, we'd even have robotic nurses.
我们甚至会有机器人护士。
We'd have like machine-driven hospitals. We'd have
我们将会拥有像是机器驱动的医院。
self-driving cars. We'd have farms that are 100% automated. We'd have clean
我们会有自动驾驶汽车，我们将拥有100%自动化的农场，我们将拥有清洁的能源。
energy. So at that point we could use technology breakthroughs to get
因此，在那个时候，我们可以利用技术突破来获得
everything that we wanted. And if anyone is still working at that point there,
我们想要的一切。如果那时还有人在工作，他们就是
working as a form of expressing their creativity. They're working because it's
作为表达他们创造力的一种形式而工作。他们工作是因为这是
in them to contribute and to build and design things. So I don't think
在贡献、建造和设计事物，所以我不认为
capitalism is evil. Capitalism is actually good. It's just that it gets
资本主义是邪恶的。资本主义其实是好的，只是它变得
hijacked. It gets hijacked by improper pricing of externalities. It gets
被劫持它被不当的外部成本定价劫持，
hijacked by improper deals where that you have corruption or you have
被不正当交易劫持，这些交易中存在腐败或垄断。
monopolies. Overall capitalism is intrinsic to the human species.
总体而言，资本主义是人类物种固有的。
Capitalism is not something we invented. Capitalism is not even something we
资本主义不是我们发明的，资本主义甚至不是我们发现的。
discovered. It is innate to us in every exchange that we have, when you and I
这是我们每次交流中与生俱来的。当你和我
exchange information, I want some information back from you, I give you
交换资讯，我想从你那里得到一些资讯，我给你。
information, you give me information. If we weren't having a good information
你给我的资讯，如果我们没有好的资讯交换，
exchange, you go talk to somebody else. So the notion of exchange and keeping
你去和别人谈谈，所以交换和保持的概念。
track of credits and debits, this is built into us as flexible social animals.
追踪贷方和借方，这是作为灵活的社会动物内建于我们之中的。
We are the only animals in the animal kingdom that cooperate across genetic
我们是动物王国中唯一能够跨越基因合作的动物。
boundaries. Most animals don't even cooperate, but when they do, they cooperate.
大多数动物甚至不会合作，但当它们合作时，
Only in packs where they co-evolve together and they share blood, so they
只有在它们一起共同进化，并且共享血缘的群体中，所以它们
have some shared interests. Humans don't have that. And what lets us cooperate?
有一些共同的利益。人类没有那样的利益，那么是什么让我们能够合作呢？
It's because we can keep track of debits and credits. Who put in how much work who?
这是因为我们可以追踪借方和贷方谁投入了多少工作，谁
Contributed how much? That's all free market capitalism is. So I strongly
贡献了多少，这就是自由市场资本主义的全部。所以我强烈
believe that it is innate to the human species, and we are going to create more.
相信这是人类与生俱来的，我们将会创造更多，
And more wealth and abundance for everybody. Everybody can be wealthy.
以及更多的财富和丰盛给每个人，每个人都可以富有。
Everybody can be retired. Everybody can be successful. It is merely a question of
每个人都可以退休，每个人都可以成功，这只是一个
education and desire. You have to want it. If you don't want it, that's fine then.
教育和渴望的问题，你必须想要它，如果你不想要，那也没关系。
You opt out of the game, but don't try and put down the people who are playing
你选择退出游戏，但不要试图贬低那些正在玩的人，
the game, because that's the game that keeps you in a comfortable warm bed at
因为那是让你待在舒适温暖的床上的游戏。
night. That's the game that keeps a roof over your head. That's a game that keeps
那是让你有屋顶遮风避雨的游戏。
your supermarket stock. That's the game that keeps the iPhone buzzing in your
那是让你有超市库存的游戏，是让你的 iPhone 持续响起的游戏。
pocket. So it is a beautiful game that is worth playing ethically, rationally,
这是一个值得以道德和理性方式来玩的美丽游戏，
morally, socially for the human race, and it's going to continue to make us all
道德上和社会上对人类来说，这将继续使我们所有人
richer and richer until we have massive wealth creation for anybody who wants it.
越来越富有，直到我们为任何想要的人创造大量财富。
And it's not just individuals secretly despising wealth, right? There's
而且不只是个人暗地里鄙视财富，对吧？
countries, groups, political parties that overtly despise wealth, or at least seem
公开鄙视财富，或至少看起来如此的国家、团体、政党。
to. That's right. And so what those countries, political parties, and groups
对，没错。所以那些国家的政党和团体
are reduced to is playing the zero-sum game of status and the process to destroy
被简化为玩灵和地位游戏而摧毁财富的过程。
wealth creation. They drag everybody down to their level, which is why the US is a
他们把每个人都拉到他们的水平，这就是为什么美国是个
very popular country for immigrants, because it's the American dream. Anyone
对移民来说非常受欢迎的国家，因为这是美国梦。
can come here, be poor, and then work really hard and make money and get
可以来这里，虽然贫穷，但可以非常努力的工作赚钱，并变得有钱。
wealthy but even just make some basic money for their lives, obviously though.
但甚至只是赚取一些基本的生活费显然。
Definition of wealth is different for different people, a first world citizens.
财富的定义因人而异，对于第一世界的公民来说，
Definition of wealth might be oh, I have to make millions of dollars and im.
财富的定义可能是我必须赚取数百万美元。
Completely done, whereas to a third world poor immigrant just entering the country.
至于刚进入这个国家的第三世界贫穷移民而言，
And we were poor immigrants who came here when I was fairly young to the United.
我们是贫穷的移民，我还很小的时候就来到了美国。
States' wealth may just be a much lower number. It may just be like I don't have.
财富可能只是一个更低的数字，这可能就像我不用。
To work a manual labor job for the rest of my life that I don't want to work, but
从事一份我不想做的体力劳动工作度过我的余生，但是
groups that despise it will essentially bring the entire group down to that level.
厌恶它的团体基本上会把整个团体拉到那个水平。
If you get too many takers and not enough makers, society falls apart. You end up
如果接受者太多而创造者不足，社会就会崩溃，你最终会
with the communist country. Look at Venezuela, right? They were so busy taking
与共产国家合作，看看委内瑞拉，对吧？他们忙于多取，
and dividing and reallocating that people are literally starving in the streets and
并且分配和重新分配，以至于人们真的在街头挨饿，并且
losing kilograms of body weight every year just through sheer starvation.
因为饥饿每年减掉数公斤的体重。
Another way to think about it is imagine an organism that has too many parasites.
另一种思考方式是想象一个有太多寄生虫的生物。
You actually need some small number of parasites to stay healthy, and you need a
你其实需要一些少量的寄生虫来保持健康，而且你需要一个
lot of symbiotes like all the mitochondria in all of our cells that help
很多共生体，就像我们所有细胞中的所有粒线体一样。
us respirate and burn oxygen. These are symbiotes that help us survive. We can
帮助我们呼吸并燃烧氧气，这些是帮助我们生存的共生体。
survive without them, but to me those are partners in the wealth creation that
没有它们也能生存，但对我来说，它们是财富创造的伙伴。
creates the human body. But if you just were filled with parasites, if you got
创造了人体，但是如果你只是充满了寄生虫，
infected with worms or a virus or bacteria that were purely parasitical, you
被纯粹寄生的虫子、病毒或细菌感染的你，
would die. So any organism can only withstand a small number of parasites.
会死，所以任何生物只能承受少量的寄生虫。
And when the parasitic element gets too far out of control, you die. So you know.
当寄生元素失控时，你就会死，所以你知道的。
Again, I'm talking about ethical wealth creation. I'm not talking about monopolies.
再说一次，我在谈论道德财富创造，我不是在谈论垄断。
I'm not talking about crony capitalism. I'm not talking about mispriced externalities.
我不是在谈裙带资本主义，我不是在谈错误定价的外部性，如同环境。
Like the environment, I'm talking about free minds and free markets small scale.
我在谈论自由的思想和自由的市场小规模的
Exchange between humans that's voluntary and doesn't have an outsized impact on
人类之间的自愿交流，且不会对其他人产生过大影响。
others. But I think that kind of wealth creation, if a society does not respect
但我认为，如果一个社会不尊重那种财富创造，
it, if a group does not respect it, that society will plunge into ruin and darkness.
如果一个群体不尊重它，那个社会将陷入毁灭和黑暗。
Obviously, we want to be wealthy, and we want to get there in this lifetime without
显然，我们希望变得富有，而且我们希望在这一生中达到这个目标，并且不需要
having to rely on luck. A lot of people think making money is about luck. It's
必须依靠运气。很多人认为赚钱是关于运气的，
not. It's about becoming the kind of person that makes money. You know I like
不是，这是关于成为那种能赚钱的人。
to think that if I lost all my money and if you drop me on a random street in any
想到如果我失去了所有的钱，并且你把我丢在任何一条随机的街道上，
English-speaking country within 5-10 years it be wealthy again, right?
且是英语国家，在5到10年内我会再次变得富有，对吧？
Because it's just a skill set that I've developed, and I think anyone can develop.
因为这只是我所培养的一项技能，而且我认为任何人都可以培养。
You know, in 1,000 parallel universes,
你知道在1000个平行宇宙中，
you want to be wealthy in 999 of them.
你希望在其中的999个变得富有，
You don't want to be wealthy in the 50 of them.
你不想只在其中的50个变得富有，
Where you got lucky.
靠着运气，
So we want to factor luck out of it.
所以我们想要把运气排除在外。
There's really 4 kinds of luck
其实有4种运气，
that we were talking about.
我们刚才谈到的，
This came from a book P. Maka.
这来自一本书 P. Mark Andreessen wrote a blog post about it. 马克·安德森写了一篇关于他的博客文章。
But there's different kinds of luck.
但是有不同种类的运气。
The first kind of luck you might just say
第一种运气，你可能会说，
is like blind luck where I just got lucky.
就像盲目的运气，我只是碰巧走运了，
Because something completely out of my control happened.
因为发生了一些完全不在我控制范围内的事情。
You know that's fortune, that's fate, etc.
你知道那是命运，那是天意等等。
Then there's luck that comes through persistence.
然后还有通过坚持而来的运气 ，hard work, hustle, motion， 努力工作、忙碌奔波。
Which is when you're just running around,
那就是当你只是在四处奔跑的时候，
creating lots of opportunities.
创造许多机会，
You're generating a lot of energy.
你正在产生大量的能量，
You're doing a lot of things.
你在做很多事情，
Lots of things will just get stirred up in the dust.
很多事情只会在尘土中被搅动。
It's almost like mixing a petri dish
这几乎就像在混合培养皿，
and seeing what combines.
并看看什么结合在一起，
Or mixing a bunch of reagents and seeing what combines.
或混合一堆试剂，看看会产生什么反应。
You're just generating enough force and hustle and energy.
你只是产生了足够的力量、拼劲和能量，
That luck will find you.
让幸运找到你。
A third way is that you just become
第三种方法是你变得
very good at spotting luck.
非常擅长发现运气。
So if you are very skilled in a field,
所以，如果你在某个领域非常熟练，
you will notice when a lucky break happens.
当好运降临时，你会注意到，
In that field, when other people
在那个领域，当其他人
who aren't attuned to it won't notice.
不熟悉它的人不会注意到，
So you become sensitive to luck.
所以你变得对运气很敏感。
And that's through skill and knowledge and work.
那是通过技能、知识和努力工作来实现的。
And then the last kind of luck
然后是最后一种运气，
is the weirdest, hardest kind.
是最奇怪、最难的种类。
But that's what we want to talk about,
但这正是我们想要谈论的，
which is where you build a unique character,
这就是你建立独特角色的地方。
a unique brand, a unique mindset,
独特的品牌、独特的思维，
where then luck finds you.
那么幸运会找到你。
For example, let's say that you're the best person
例如，假设你是最优秀的
in the world at deep sea underwater diving,
深海水下潜水员，
and you're known to take on deep sea underwater dives,
而且你以进行深海潜水而闻名，
that nobody else will even attempt to dare.
没有人会甚至尝试去挑战。
And then by sheer luck,
然后突然有一天，
somebody finds a sunken treasure ship off the coast.
有人在海岸附近发现了一艘沉没的宝藏船，
They can't get at.
他们无法触及。
Well, their luck just became your luck,
好吧，他们的运气现在变成了你的运气，
because they're gonna come to you to get that treasure,
因为他们会来找你拿那个宝藏，
and you're gonna get paid for it.
而且你会因此得到报酬。
Now that's an extreme example,
那是一个极端的例子，
but it's just showing how the person who got lucky
但这只是显示那个走运的人
by finding the treasure chest that was blind luck,
找到那个宝藏箱完全是瞎猫碰上死耗子，
but them coming to you and asking you to extract it,
但是他们来找你并要求你提取它，
and having to give you half that's not luck.
而且还得分你一半，那不是运气，
You created your own luck.
你创造了自己的运气，
You've put yourself in a position
你已经把自己置于一个位置，
to be able to capitalize on that luck,
能够利用那份运气，
or to attract that luck when nobody else
或在没有人时吸引那份运气，
has created that opportunity for themselves.
为自己创造了那个机会。
So when we talk about without getting lucky,
所以，当我们谈论不靠运气时，
We wanna be deterministic.
我们想要具有确定性，
We don't wanna leave it to chance.
我们不想把它留给机会。
Do you wanna elaborate a little bit more on the idea
你能不能再多阐述一下这个想法？
that in 1000 parallel universes,
在1000个平行宇宙中，
you wanna get rich in 999 of them?
你想在其中的999个里致富？
I think some people are gonna see that
我认为有些人会觉得，
and say that sounds impossible.
这听起来不可能，
Sounds like it's too good to be true.
听起来好的令人难以置信。
No, I don't think it's impossible.
不，我不认为这是不可能的。
I think that you may have to work a little bit harder at it,
我认为你可能需要再多努力一点，
given your starting circumstances.
考虑到你的起始情况。
I mean, remember, I started as a poor kid in India, right?
我的意思是，记得我一开始在印度是一个穷孩子，对吧？
So if I can make it, anybody can in that sense.
所以，如果我能做到，从这个意义上来说，任何人都可以做到。
Now, obviously, I had all my limbs.
现在显然我有所有的四肢，
And I had my mental faculties, and I did have an education.
我有我的心智能力，而且我确实受过教育。
So there are some prerequisites you can't get past.
所以有一些不能忽视的先决条件。
But if you're listening to this video or podcast,
但是如果你在听这个影片或播客，
you probably have the requisite means at your disposal,
你可能拥有必要的手段，
which is a functioning body and a functioning mind.
一个运作正常的身体和运作正常的心灵。
And I've encountered plenty of bad luck along the way.
而且我一路上遇到了很多坏运气。
First little fortune that I made,
我赚到的第一笔小财富，
I instantly lost in the stock market.
我立刻在股市中亏损了。
The second little fortune that I made,
我赚到的第二笔小财富，
or I should have made,
或者我应该要赚的，
I got cheated by my business partners.
我被我的商业伙伴欺骗了。
It's only the third time around has been a charm.
第3次才成功，
And even then it has been a slow and steady struggle.
即便如此，这仍然是一场缓慢而稳定的斗争。
And I haven't made money in my life in one giant payout.
而且我这辈子从未一次性赚过大笔钱，
It's always been a whole bunch of small things piling up.
一直以来都是一堆小事堆积起来。
So it's more about consistently creating wealth,
所以这更多是关于持续创造财富，
by creating businesses and creating opportunities,
创造企业和创造机会，
and creating investments.
并创造投资。
It hasn't been like a giant one-off thing.
这并不是一件巨大的、一次性的事情。
My personal wealth has not been generated by one big year.
我的个人财富不是在某一年内积累起来的，
It just stacks up little bit chips at a time.
它只是一次堆积一点点筹码，
More options, more businesses, more investments.
更多选择，更多企业，更多投资，
More things I can do.
更多我能做的事情。
Same way someone like a Nenad Ilisartus
像 Nenad Ilisartus 这样的人，
has building his brand online, has building videos.
他正在网上建立他的品牌，他正在制作影片。
It's not like any one video is going to suddenly
这并不是说任何一个影片会突然间
shower him with riches overnight.
一夜之间让他财富满盈，
It's going to be a long lifetime of learning,
这将会是一个漫长的学习生涯。
of reading, of creating. That's just that compound.
阅读和创作会带来附加效果，
So we're talking about getting wealthy so you can retire.
所以我们在谈论如何致富以便退休。
So you have your freedom.
所以你拥有你的自由。
Not retire in the sense that you don't do anything,
不退休的意思是你不会什么都不做，
but in the sense that you don't have to be any place.
但从某种意义上说，你不必在任何地方。
You don't wanna be, you don't have to do anything.
你不想做，你不必做任何事。
You don't wanna do, and you can wake up when you want.
你不想做的事情，你可以在你想要的时候醒来。
You can sleep when you want, you don't have a boss.
你可以随时睡觉，你没有老板，
That's freedom.
那就是自由。
So we're talking about enough wealth to get to freedom.
所以我们在谈论足够的财富来获得自由，
And especially thanks to the internet these days.
尤其是现在多亏了网际网络，
Those opportunities are massively abundant.
那些机会非常丰富。
I in fact have too many ways to make money.
事实上，我有太多赚钱的方法，
I don't have enough time.
我没有足够的时间。
I literally have opportunities pouring out of my ears.
我真的有数不尽的机会。
And the thing I keep running out of is time.
我一直缺少的东西是时间。
There's just so many ways to create wealth,
有很多方法可以创造财富，
to create products, to create businesses,
创造产品以创建企业，
to create opportunities and to as a byproduct.
创造机会并作为副产品，
Get paid by society that I just can't even handle it all.
被社会支付的报酬多到我无法应付。
I think it's pretty interesting.
我觉得这很有趣。
That the first three kinds of luck that you described,
你所描述的前3种运气，
there are very common cliches for them that everybody knows.
有一些大家都知道的非常常见的陈腔滥调，
And then for that last kind of luck,
然后是最后那种运气，
that comes to you out of the unique way that you act.
那是因为你独特的行为方式而来的，
There's no real cliche for it.
没有真正的陈腔滥调来形容它。
So for the first three kinds,
所以前面3种，
there's dumb luck or blind luck.
有愚蠢的运气或盲目的运气，
That's the first kind of luck.
那是第一种运气。
The second kind of luck, there's the cliche that fortune favors the bold.
第二种运气有句老话说幸运偏爱勇者，
That's a person who gets lucky just by stirring the pot and acting.
那是一个只靠搅局和表演就能走运的人。
The third kind of luck, people say that chance favors the prepared mind.
第3种运气，人们说机会偏爱有准备的心灵。
But for the fourth kind of luck, there is not really a common cliche out there that.
但是对于第4种运气，并没有一个真正常见的陈词滥调，
matches the unique character of your action, which I think is interesting and perhaps an
符合你行动的独特性格。我认为这很有趣，也许是一个机会。
opportunity, and it also just shows that people aren't necessarily taking advantage of that.
而且这也显示出人们并不一定在利用这些机会，
Kind of luck the way they should be.
像他们应该有的那种运气。
I think also at that point it starts becoming so deterministic that it stops being luck.
我认为在那个时候，它开始变得如此决定性，以至于不再是运气。
So the definition starts fading from luck to more destiny.
所以这个定义开始从运气逐渐转变为更多的命运。
So I would characterize that fourth one is you build your character in a certain way.
所以我会形容第4个是你以某种方式塑造你的性格，
And then your character becomes your destiny.
然后你的性格决定你的命运。
One of the things I think that is important to making money, you want the kind of reputation
我认为赚钱的重要因素之一是你想要那种声誉，
that makes people do deals through you.
这让人们通过你达成交易。
I use the example of if you're a great diver, then treasure hunters will come and give you.
我举例说明，如果你是一个很棒的潜水员，那么寻宝猎人就会来找你，并给予你
A piece of the treasure for your diving skills.
一份宝藏，奖励你的潜水技能。
If you're a trusted, reliable, high integrity, long term thinking dealmaker, then when other
如果你是一个值得信赖、可靠、高诚信、具有长远思维的交易撮合者，那么当其他
people want to do deals, but they don't know how to do them in a trustworthy manner with
人们想要做交易，但他们不知道如何以值得信赖的方式进行。
strangers, they will literally approach you and give you a cut of the deal or offer you
陌生人真的会接近你，并给你一部分交易或提供给你
a unique deal just because of the integrity and reputation that you built up.
仅仅因为你建立起来的诚信和声誉而达成的一笔独特交易。
Warren Buffett, he gets offered deals, and he gets to buy companies, and he gets to buy
沃伦·巴菲特他会被提供交易机会，他可以收购公司，他可以购买
warrants and bail out banks and do things that other people can't do because of his
保证和纾困银行，并做其他人无法做到的事情，因为他的 reputation 声誉。
But of course that's fragile.
但是当然那是脆弱的，
It has accountability on the line.
这关系到问责。
It has a strong brand on the line.
它有一个强大的品牌在线上。
And as we will talk about later, that comes with accountability attached.
稍后我们会讨论到，这是伴随着责任而来的。